Hey guys, Kaiju here. Today we're going to be reviewing another Kaiju figure, and today's one is actually a figure that I've showed off quite a lot in my few more recent videos, but I thought I would give him an actual proper review, considering I only have a few reviews of this Kaiju up on the channel right now. The again way too tall Bandai Creations Godzilla. So after I readjust the camera a little bit, we'll actually start on everything that's important about him. After changing the height and light settings, we are now ready to start the review. Obviously, this is the Bandai Creations variant of the figure, although there is a Bandai version that is nearly identical to it. I think the only difference is that it has a card on it though, and I didn't really ever get it with a card or a box, so I'm not 100% sure, but I got it in the States, so I would bargain it's probably the Bandai Creations release. Now, of course, this is the 1968 Godzilla, so this means this is the one from Destroy All Monsters, and overall I think it looks pretty accurate to the design, but let's get a little bit more in depth with that in detail. The figure looks pretty good, at least from the scaling wise, and it does have some other accents of paint on it which make it very nice to look at. It doesn't really have any dry brushing going on, but it does have ashy knees for whatever reason. Its claws are also painted, as well as its face. There is one thing though that I really don't like about the figure, which is the fact that it has way too pink of gums. The back is painted though all the way down, so that's very nice to see. Unlike modern Bandai figures, this one actually has paint from the head all the way down to the tip of the tail. So overall, paint and detail on it are very, very nice. One thing I really like about the figure is that it actually does look like a suit. It doesn't really look like an actual creature, but more or less an actual costume that a guy would wear. Now onto articulation, which is pretty standard for a Godzilla figure. His arms can move, obviously, so he can kind of destroy a city if you really want him to. He can punch over buildings and all that fun jazz. His legs can move, so he can kind of do that kick that he did in Godzilla vs. Megalon. And his tail can also rotate, although not very well. I don't really think it can go 360 because there's some mechanics in the actual figure that prevent that, but whatever, it can still move. So overall, 5 points for articulation. Pretty damn good for a Godzilla figure. Usually they have like 4, but I have seen some other figures with more. Regardless, let's get on to sizing now, which is probably going to be my biggest complaint about this figure. Considering I put him up against all the other Godzilla figures that I featured recently, I'll put him up against a few Ultraman monsters, like Antlar. And Antlar is a fairly short kaiju, but you can kind of start to see what I mean. This Godzilla figure is way too tall. You've probably seen me readjust the camera quite a few times in my videos whenever I pull him out, and that's because he is way too tall of a figure. Most figures are about 6 inches tall, this guy is roughly 7. He is Godzilla, so I guess he should have more of a presence. I could also compare him to a Godzilla suit turned into an Ultraman monster, like Gomez here. Gomez is actually taller than this Godzilla, however, it's not really because of his actual size, but more or less the horn on his head. This guy still kind of looks over him, so you can still see what I mean by the large size of the figure. But these guys do look good next to each other. This kind of goes to highlight how Gomez is actually a Godzilla suit just turned into another monster. If only I had Jiris. And why the hell not, I'll compare him to a Mecha Godzilla. Hopefully one that I have not reviewed yet, like the Playmates Legendary Mechagodzilla. Now, the Playmates Legendary Mechagodzilla is a little bit short. You have to kind of extend his legs a little bit to where he can actually kind of get up to that 6-inch margin. But even still, with his legs extended and his tail fully put back, he's not as tall as Godzilla is whatsoever, so that's a little bit misfortunate. But yeah, that is the Bandai Creations Destroy All Monsters Godzilla figure. Overall, the detail is very, very nice. The only thing that I really have to complain about is the gums on the figure look way too pink. That's the only thing I really don't like about it. The articulation is perfectly fine, 5 points, that's pretty standard for Godzilla. And the sizing is a little bit too tall for my liking, but I guess to have him a little bit more of a presence, I guess. But thank you all for watching this review, of course, and I will see you all in the next one. Thank you for watching.